classroom wise, kind of like what we were talking about before. And he was like, no, the youth really doesn't care. I said, why do you think that? He was like, today's youth is just really living for today and not thinking of tomorrow. So when I hear the older generation saying, like, we don't really care about our future, or we're not really thinking about our future, I feel like that kind of makes me personally upset, because I don't think that that's
Well, that's painting with a wide brush.
No, but
And what I mean is that that's putting everybody in one
category.
In one category.
In one category. But yeah, I feel like that really affected me, mainly because I don't really think that it's because of that reason that the youth just doesn't care and we're only living for today and not for tomorrow. I feel like it's just due to people not caring enough to invest the time into us efficiently. People are just becoming teachers just to become teachers. People are just doing their job just to do their job. They're not doing their job with a passion. And as a child, you know, you can feel about it how you will, but as a child, you can feel that energy. You can feel who cares about you and who does not care about you, who is willing to invest in you and who isn't willing to invest in you. That is very visible.
Now, I can speak to that.
Yes.
Because I went to a private school where there was only 25 people in high school there. We sat in one classroom all day. You know, there was no, you know, we shot basketball, you know, during break and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she cared about our well-being, and the only reason I left her is because it was a private school where it was just, she dealt with each individual exactly where they were.
Right.
Okay.
And nowadays, people are just being shoved into tight spaces. So it's hard to be able, just with the classroom setting alone, it's hard to manage 40 kids at once. It's hard to be intimate with each kid and meet each kid where they're at once due to the large class sizes. That's also what I feel like causing an issue as well. That the teachers, they're getting overwhelmed because it's too much work. You have 45 kids in each class. That's like 200 and something kids in total. So it just becomes overwhelming for them, where I feel like they no longer want to do their job, where they're losing their passion due to being overwhelmed. So I feel like maybe sometimes teachers aren't just coming in to be teachers. I feel like they kind of lose their inspirations of being teachers because nobody working with them.
Understood. But I think, you know, I had one teacher in high school where I loved to go to that class because he taught us life lessons. Okay, it was an architectural. It was drafting for 4 hours after every Tuesday and Thursday. After school, for 2 hours it was drafting, and then we had creative design, where we can basically design a car, we can design homes, and once again it was creativity and how he connected to everybody and how he was able to explain drafting.
Mm-hmm.
Because through all that, we always talked about drafting, whether we were doing foundations, but it was always life lessons from Mr. Spinoza. So I'll never forget him. I used to go back to high school for 20 years to go talk to him until he retired. I don't know where he is now,
Charisma.
if he's even living.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Charisma. Do you have any teachers who you feel do go above and beyond what maybe some of the other ones do? That mean a lot to you?
I don't really want to put anybody into like a category, but particularly here at Dorsey High School, we do have a teacher that goes by the name of Mr. Lippy-Klein, and he is very intentional with his learning. And you could definitely see, based off of the way that Mr. Lippy-Klein or Mr. Davis runs their classroom, based off of how these new upcoming teachers are running their classroom. I really feel like based off of the structure of the classroom, based off of the honesty in the classroom, based off of the intimacy in the classroom, that makes the students respect you as well. Because I feel like a lot of people are getting really pushed out of their career because they feel like the students don't respect them, the students don't care about what they have to teach. It's all about what the students can and cannot do. But I really feel like it's about their personal approach that affects how the students are learning.
So in other words, it's a situation where it's not how much you know, it's how much you care.
It's not about how much you know or how much you care. It's about, can you direct? That's your job, is to direct. It's not about really knowing what you're doing because everybody knows something, because we're all coming off of different paths of life. Just because I'm young, you can't assume that a certain type of feeling just because I'm young. Or I can't assume something of you just because you're older, because we're all coming from different paths of life. So I really feel like it's about directing. You have to learn how to direct your classroom. You have to learn how to take control of your classroom in a respectful manner.
Agreed.
I feel like it's about mutual respect. I feel like a lot of people, more so of the older generation, they think that respect is automatic and respect is given or not given. I feel like that's really how this generation is really approaching things. Respect is earned, not given. Don't think that you're entitled to respect just because you're older. I feel like you're entitled to respect until you make me lose respect for you.
I believe that each individual, no matter what walk of life they come from, you owe them that until
proven otherwise.
I think respect is just something mutual that you have to have for somebody, period. no matter what the walk of life or how much money they have or how much, whatever the economic situation is. I believe in that wholeheartedly. Why? Because that opens you up for what that person has to say or to engage that person.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay. And so, unfortunately, a lot of teachers don't connect that way.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you a question.
Okay.
We're real passionate about after school programs. Why? Is because that's somewhere where you can get in touch with someone personally. It creates intimacy as well, right?
Mhm.
And it also gets the individuals participating in that space. It gives them a chance to know each other better,
Right.
and you learn from each other.
Right.
Correct. And if you're able to do that in an environment outside of a structured class where you have to learn these basics about math and you got to learn these basics about that.
Mhm.
But here we're dealing with life. We're dealing with how are we going to present ourselves in the future? How are we going to deal with these social issues? How am I going to deal with myself? What do I look like? What do I sound like? Am I good enough? All these questions that go through a child's head, the reason why they reach out to social media. This is why we feel passionate about approaching it from this realm, because we feel that already teachers are already overwhelmed. They can't attack every single issue out there. But what you can do in an intimate setting is to be able to get a group, and from that group it grows exponentially. And then through osmosis, if it is positive, through osmosis, that's going to spread. Positive action and interaction will always spread because it's going to be something that you want to experience over and over and over again, yes?
Right.
If it becomes successful on this realm, then that's when they start to take a look at it and say, maybe we need to take a look at how can we create a curriculum that attacks that portion of learning. Because why? Let's face it, I mean, it's impossible for teachers to get involved and to really understand each and every student. That just can't happen.
Can I ask a quick question to interject? If that's true, Charisma, if maybe it is impossible for every teacher to engage and direct each individual student the way you feel that they maybe should or do more closely, what would you like to come back to schools one day and say to teachers? I'd like to come back to school and say to teachers, if you can't do this, try this. And then Ray Jr. also, like, what would you say to educators to say, hey, if there's one thing I could maybe help you do, it would be this suggestion. Like, you each give like one little quick soundbite about like if I could do one thing or say one thing about teachers or education, it would be this one thing.
Well, if I was an educator, a teacher, the first thing I would come in to a classroom and you look at all these hungry minds. Number one, if they showed up, that means something. Because I've been in a district where they had an 85% truancy rate. Nobody was going to school. That's number one. And number two, if a teacher comes in and says, okay, I have all these unique minds, okay, how can I help you cultivate that? And that's got to be the way you look at minds, okay, that are trying to learn something and trying to learn something that you're trying to teach. How would you feel if somebody came in and asked you, I want to help you cultivate your mind, how you think and how you present yourself to become successful individuals? Wouldn't you feel better like that?
Yes, me personally. But I feel like even the way that the question is set up, I kind of feel like people would take it not in a positive light, mainly because why is something wrong with you? Why aren't you? Or let me rehear what you said.
Maybe what I'm saying is that it's exactly what I said. All I'm going to say to individuals if I come into a classroom after school program, I'm simply here. You have to look at me. I'm Ray Charles Jr., yeah. But you have to look at me as somebody really trying to help you become all you can be and to find out really truly who you are so that you can explore what you want to do with your life and how you're going to learn and how you're going to grow, period. I'm not there to tell you what you're going to be. I'm not there to tell you what you're not going to be. I'm there basically to help you explore, to look deep inside, because if you're not looking inside, where all the answers to everything that you ever want in life are in here. They're not out here, they're not over here, they're in here. But you have to be quiet, you have to think, and you have to reflect. And the only way that you can reflect is to take a look, and you have to be able to listen over and over and over again. And if you can do that, and that's very hard to do in today's society because there's so many distractions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean by that. You can't come into a classroom and make kids feel less than.
Mm-hmm.
That, because a lot of kids already come into class already feeling less than. Why? It's because they just have no idea what their God-given gifts are. And they don't know. And they're not willing to even dive deep into that because you don't know what's going on at home. You don't know their circumstances. That is one of the other main issues that we all face when we're trying to help youth or trying to at least engage them. And if you go into a forum and you're in a group, per se, and you ask somebody to articulate what they're going through, some of them don't even know how to articulate that.
Charisma, do you think that's true? Do you think your classmates would have a hard time articulating, one, the answer to the question, how can I help you, and then also what's going on at home?
I don't think that's a difficult question. I think that's a straightforward question.
Do you think it's difficult for your peers, though, as it is maybe easy for you?
I don't think it's difficult for them. I think if you go out there and you ask them, give them direct answers, do you guys care about yourself? Do you guys care about your future? Because right now, everybody else is thinking that we don't. And I'm here to tell you that we definitely do.
I feel better already.
That we definitely do. But like I was saying before, it's not really about the one-on-one personal investment. It's about the overall investment.
Of course.
I'm saying it would be better maybe if it was one-on-one, but you want to get people together as a group, as a collective, to get your overall message across. I don't think that none of these kids are incapable of comprehending or being able to articulate their thoughts and their feelings in their current circumstances. I feel like, one, they need somebody that is going to be able to talk to them from experience. Because how can you, Ray Charles, if you've been on a pedestal your whole life, and if you've been, hypothetically, if you were given a silver spoon all your life, why would I take advice from you? You don't know.
And the first thing I would tell them
One second. I'm almost finished. I promise I'll let you talk. I allowed you to talk. If you were given all these things early on in life, you did not have to work and you did not have to build, you don't understand how it feels to be at my level, how it feels to be at the bottom of the barrel. You don't understand the process of trying to get up. So I personally, or I feel like most of my peers wouldn't really not necessarily care what you have to say, but would be very hesitant to reciprocate the energy that you're giving them.
So I would like to respond to that. My father lost his brother at 4 years old. He was blind at 7. He was orphaned at 7. Could not read, could not write. By the time he was 12 years old, he was playing classical music. He had to learn to read Braille. There's a special code for Braille that you have to learn before you can even read the music. He had to learn all that. By the time he was 12, he was playing classical music. He was earning money. By the time he was 14, he was writing his own arrangements. Because by the time he was 15, his mother had passed away. By the time he was 16, he didn't have a mother, brother, nothing. He decided on his own, 16, he got on a bus because one thing he knew how to play music. He knew how to write music. And he took that and he went to the farthest place from Florida, which is Seattle, and he started his life over again. He's blind, knows no one in Seattle. And from there, he creates himself. He gets his first record deal. He meets Quincy Jones. They're both teenagers. They both dream. He teaches Quincy Jones how to write his charts. They both go their own ways. They both become two American icons. From extreme poverty, my father didn't wear shoes until he was 7. That's the reason why I made Ray. Because the whole purpose of making Ray was to show anyone who comes from any kind of circumstances that if you believe in yourself, the only thing he had was himself. And he had a deep understanding about that early because both of his parents were dead at 14. He had a deep understanding of what he had to do, and he did it. And so I'm saying, they may say that about me, okay, but as an adult, I was given a lot. Yeah, I worked, I interned, and I did all that. I didn't have to grind like that. But a lot of my friends around me, I went to public school. I could have gone to private school anywhere in the country.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It really not trying to desensitize your father's story or your personal story. But like I was saying, they'll be more active to receiving if they seen somebody, for example, Black Sam, Nipsey Hussle's brother, from their community, from their whereabouts, from where they know, for what they're familiar of, seeing somebody like that flourish from where they're at now. I feel like that will be having somebody that could come and speak into them. I feel like that will be more beneficial. Now, I'm not saying that what you're doing is not meaningful. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I feel like people will be more receptive of it. That's all I'm saying.
And so we have to agree to disagree. And so I'll tell you why. Because as a human being, I have my issues. You know, I saved my father's life at a heroin overdose at 6 years old. I wrote an Image Award-winning book in 2011 to talk about the dysfunction of being rich, having everything, black kids taking everything from me, stealing from me, and all this stuff. I have my experiences. Doesn't matter. Money has nothing to do with your experiences. My father was on heroin at the peak of his career. In 1962, I found my father bleeding to death because he had cut himself on the wrist under the influence of heroin. It could have been over, all over. He got another chance. You know what happened to me? The anxiety of that. I almost lost my mother a year later. Her appendix burst. She laid in bed for 2 days. She stayed in the hospital for 10 months. We were raised by our nanny. That anxiety ended up affecting me in my adulthood. It created paralyzing anxiety because I never thought my parents were going to be around. And I was suffering with anxiety, paralyzing anxiety. Ultimately, I would end up having substance abuse issues. When I'm highly successful, everything's perfect in my life. So from a human standpoint, if they can't relate to me as a human being, forget about me being Ray Charles and money. If you sit here, you don't know how much money I have. I just dress decently or whatever the case may be. You can't even read about how much money I have. I'm just an individual who has life experiences, who it seems as if because I had everything, that everything had to work out, that I had to be successful. My brother, 16 years old, he starts smoking PCP. He's got a full ride at Yale University. He ends up going to jail for 9 years. A full ride to Yale. Never went to college, you see. This is what happens behind closed doors. It looks like everything is perfect. Oh, this is Ray Charles's kids. I decided to write about dysfunction because our dysfunction was no worse than your dysfunction. Did my father know how to raise children? No, because he didn't have any parents to raise kids. I never got a call on my birthday. I never saw my father when I was an adult, when I was at Christmas. My father never invited me to his house to eat dinner. And I got millions of dollars sitting in the bank. He never called me once to sit at his house and let's talk. It's not a rosy road. My father dies. The manager takes all our money. He takes all my money. You know, it's about human experiences. You know, and when I was in college, everybody used to say exactly what you're saying. Oh, you're Ray Charles Jr. You don't have to do this. I said, look, I'm not apologizing for who I am and where I came from and my parents were wealthy. Because you know why? Because the individuals I grew up with in View Park, which is the wealthiest black neighborhood in this country, which is right up in that hill across from Baldwin Hills. If we were all in the same place in school and in college, that meant that they had the same opportunity. I had to prove myself. I had to get good grades to graduate out of college too. It wasn't given to me. We were all in the same position. Why? Because our parents worked extremely hard to do that. And that means that it wasn't just kids up here. I have friends from all walks of life who became doctors, lawyers, and judges, and became educators and aerospace engineers and stuff like that. We were all in the same place. I had to stay up all night and study too to get good grades, to be able to go forward, to learn and to be able to do things. And so these are the things that you have to tell, because it's a total misconception about money. It's a total misconception about what happens behind closed doors. Somebody over here thinks they had it bad. Oh, well, I'm 6 years old and I find my father bleeding to death on heroin. I don't see the difference. It's a human experience. And you'll be surprised how I break a lot of individuals down from that facade about me. You see? That makes me human.
I apologize if I made you feel
It's something I
devalued.
hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the habit of breaking down that facade. It's because I can share stories with them about my friends who I grew up with. One kid just locked himself in a phone booth and just took a bunch of pills and died. He was 16 years old.
So you wouldn't say that you had a sheltered life?
Oh, I had a real sheltered life. My mother was over us. You know why? It's because during the 60s, we were getting death threats until I graduated from high school. I had somebody drive me to school because we were getting death threats. With that fame comes a lot of things. With fame comes a lot of heartache.
Because you could have everything and not have nothing, right? Or am I wrong?
Money is about units. Let me try to explain money. If your parents had less units than my parents, right, that means that your parents can't afford to do a lot of different things with money that my parents possibly can do.
All right. And do you think that that puts us at different levels?
Your parents may have given you more love and more instruction as a young lady. That's why you're so disciplined at this age right now. There are not a lot of girls that are this disciplined and that bright as you. You got that from somewhere.
I got that from my circumstances.
And then you've learned. But there are a lot of kids who came from really loving homes that their parents did not have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You see. Why? It's because my experience, when people say, okay, you came from this high standard, but I played baseball in Baldwin Hills, and my friends came from all walks of life. My parents bought our uniforms and paid for that park to stay up to ground so these kids will have after-school programs. Most of my mentors were officers who instilled in me, because you know why? My father wasn't around. My father just was not there. And so my mentors were, took the time with me to show me how to be a young man. The YMCA, baseball, Baldwin Hills, and those individuals who are now passed away. I knew a lot of individuals who came from homes that they weren't even remotely close to living a lifestyle, but they were so close as a family. I didn't have that. It was just my mother. My mother did everything, and she was fantastic. She was mom and she was dad. My father wasn't around, to do that.
Final thoughts while we're on camera? Wrap it up a little bit.
This has been good.
This has been really good.
Well, before we wrap it up, I actually want to ask a few questions. We can maybe summarize it. What do you feel like your overall goal is at the moment?
Don't really know after speaking to you. Because you just been slapping me with a white glove, like, let me tell you something. But in a good way. No.
Thank you.
This is really what I wanted. I mean, you're giving me so much feedback. It's insane. I truly want the students who are interested in hearing what we're trying to do is just to engage us, okay?
And what are you trying to do?
I want kids to do self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to self-reflect, which is going to teach them how to critically think through everything that's going on around them. We want to show them this wide variety. We want them to talk about social issues, LGBTQ, and all this stuff that's going on, gang violence, and do they think society is investing in them? We want to talk about that. And we want to get them to open up, and we want to get them to expand, and we want to get them to explore. And we want them to trust us to be able to do that. All the answers that you are searching for outside in social media or anywhere else from anybody, all the answers are inside. You just have to look, and you have to continue to look. And you cannot look to the left nor to the right. You have to stay focused on your goal and what you're going to do with your life. And I guarantee you, and if you practice that in whatever you feel that you're going to be good at, if you focus on that and you put in hours, the numbers don't lie. You will become something special.
Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much for investing into me and my audience. I'm so appreciative to have you here, and I hope to have you back on the Constructing Charisma podcast.
You just told me I was rich, and then who was going to listen to me?
No, but you know what? It's about how.
I'm just kidding.
I know, but let me shimmer that down real quick. One vision or one idea or one
I got you now,
perspective.
So.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got you.
You did. God bless
so
you.
you can slap me with white gloves. Say, no, Ray. No.
That was awesome, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.